Hey guys, how does this sound? 2 targets, 2 cameras, 1 scope. Let me explain. So tonight is the night that I scheduled myself to shoot the Veil Nebula, a supernova remnant in the Cygnus constellation. Now, I saw Trevor Jones actually get a photo of the Embryo Nebula just recently, and I wondered to myself, am I able to get any data on that target with my CLS filter? I mean, he did capture it from a Bortle 2 zone, and I'm in a Bortle 6.7. But I'm just wondering how much signal that I can get, so I think this is gonna be kind of a cool experiment, and the reason why I'm using 2 cameras is because the Embryo frames up really nicely with my 183. So I'll be shooting with my 294 at the beginning of the night, and then in the wee hours of the morning, I'll switch to my 183 and start getting some data on the Embryo Nebula. So let's take a look at these 2 targets. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. All right, so at the beginning of the night, we'll be shooting the Veil Nebula, and I think this is how I'm going to be framing it up. Ever since I got the 294, I'm getting a wider field of view, and this is the first time that I'm gonna be shooting it in its entirety. Usually I'm only able to frame a part of it, but the 294 gives me a really big field of view on my Hyperstar C6. And I think it's gonna look like this. And for the most part, I'll be able to get most of that. Maybe I'll do one of these here and probably frame it up somewhere in there. Now, the Veil Nebula, let's read about it a little bit, is a supernova remnant. The magnitude on it is 7, it's fairly bright. And the radius is 50 light years, but it's really close to Earth at 1400 light years from Earth, abouts. And it's in the good old constellation of Cygnus. Man, there is a lot going on in that one. Now, near the end of the night is when I start seeing the California Nebula, and that's why we're gonna shoot it in those wee hours. It is a reflection nebula, so it's not emitting its own light. The light that it's getting is from nearby stars, unlike the Veil Nebula that is basically glowing in space but on its own. Its magnitude is 5.6, so it's fairly bright, but the dust trails from a light polluted area is going to be somewhat problematic. Stellarium is not very helpful for me to frame on this. Let's take a look at Trevor's photo that he got from, I think, is it Okie-Tex? I think he went to Okie-Tex, but let's see here. All right, here it is. And wow, this looks amazing. And this is my mistake, actually. Looks like he got this from a Bortle 1 zone, okay? I'm gonna try and recreate this photo, but in my Bortle 6.7. And I'm really not sure how it's gonna turn out, but like I said, let's go find out. Did I just rhyme? I hate it when I do that. All right, guys, there's our game plan. So we're gonna be using our Hyperstar C6 shooting at f2 to capture these 2 targets. We're going to be shooting the Veil Nebula in full SHO, I mind you, at the beginning of the night, and near the end in the wee hours of the morning, we will switch to the Embryo Nebula, which we'll be shooting in CLS with my ASI 183mm Pro. So we will be swapping cameras in the other half of the evening. But before we go, I know what you guys are thinking, so let me get it. Look, it's Taco. Do you think Taco is camera shy? Because he seems to know when the camera's on him and he gets like really shy. He's never like really like that, you know what I mean? You want to get the Embryo Nebula? No? Yeah. Aw. All right, guys, let's get on out there. Here's the data that I'm getting on the Veil Nebula. It's looking pretty good, actually. I'm 9% obscured tonight, but no moon. So I think we're looking good. And as the night progresses, it's supposed to get better because it's going to be zeros across the board tomorrow. However, I won't have time to go out tomorrow night. So I'm trying to get everything done here. So here's the first of two cameras. So I got the 294 in 47 megapixel mode, so you can see how much detail we can expose. And then in an hour and a half, I'm going to switch to my 183 and try to get some CLS data on the Embryo Nebula. So by then, it'll be up and hopefully the skies will be a lot clearer. So here's to wishing good things, you know what I mean? I mean, really, guys, the sky's a big place and planes can fly anywhere. Why do all these planes gotta fly through my Veil Nebula, man? I just swapped to my 183 because I just got done shooting my SHO on the Veil. So an hour and a half done on that one, and I'm about to get my sub back on the Embryo. Oh man, I didn't focus it. Oh, damn. The Embryo was kind of an experiment anyways, just to see if I could get it. I doubt it though, looking at it now, but you know, we'll see in stacking, you know what I mean? So, and it's actually 2 o'clock right now. While I'm embrolicizing, starting to make up words again. It is really nice tonight. It's almost the end of summer, you know? I got 2 weeks until September. Then the clouds are gonna roll in probably around October. And I'm seeing meteors in the sky too. I don't know if I'm picking that up. It's really nice right now. And it's funny because the skies are changing, you know, we're seeing some of those fall constellations come in. And it's starting to get cold. It's cold right now. I'm not really sure what I got. All I know is I gotta put all my stuff away. It clouded over actually, which is super weird, but it is what it is. And we're back. But before we get into these photo guys, I have a story for you. So last night when I was getting data on the Embryo Nebula, my EAF version 1 stopped working. So after inspecting it, I actually had a bad USB port. So after 3 years, it just decided to give up the ghost. And honestly, I got 3 years of putting a USB in that port night after night. So honestly, I didn't do too bad. All I did was end up ordering a new USB port off of Amazon, and it actually came this morning. So I spent the morning fixing my EAF and soldering it back onto the boards. I'm happy to report that it works just like it did right out of the box. I'm really grateful for my other hobby actually. In the RC hobby, I do a lot of soldering, so I was able to fix this $200 part and also save myself $200. So that's my story. Anyways, let's get in to these 2 photos that we got last night. So if you remember, I dedicated the first half of the evening to the Veil Nebula, and this is the first time that I caught it kind of in its entirety in one frame. Now, honestly, I think I'm gonna get another panel because there's a little bit more to it, but for an hour and a half of data, so I shot 30 minutes in each filter, so that means I have 30 minutes of integration. check this out. I don't think I did too bad on this. Well, I got a lot of detail on this supernova remnant. I think at some point in time I'm going to shoot the Flying Bat Nebula on its own with my SCT, up close and personal style, and also this section of the Witch's Broom, because there's a lot of gas in that little tip area, so I just kind of want to, I don't know, see if I can get it, right? And check out all the detail on Pickering's triangle. Honestly, I think I can get that up close too. And I did shoot and crop in 47 megapixel mode, so I'll put those photos at the end of this video so you can enjoy them. But how did our second half of the night turn out? Was I able to recreate Trevor's photo that he got of the Embryo Nebula from a Bortle 1 zone? Now, the objective of this was to see if I could get any of the dust trails, right? Like he did. And I used a CLS filter and I shot at f2. And in the middle of the night, I swapped cameras to my 183 because my 183 just had the field of view. So here's what I got, and check it out. And I know it doesn't look like much, guys, but bear with me. So as you see here, here's the Embryo Nebula, and it looks like I got the Reflection Nebula itself and also the dark dust that kind of surrounds it, which means to me that I can shoot this with my SCT or possibly my Z73, get a lot of data on it, and it's going to look really, really cool. But did I get any of the surrounding dust data, or did I just have too much light pollution in order to expose it? Well, if you look at this photo here and you see all these smooth areas, that's actually dust data. So I'm really excited because that means with enough exposure time, I'm probably gonna get a pretty good photo of this, I'm sure. I just don't know how much exposure time I'm going to need, right? But if you look up here, here's the little curly Q of the Embryo Nebula. And you see it just kind of filters down here into this big blobby region. I know, really scientific, right? And then it comes back up through the Embryo Nebula here. So I definitely recreated the photo, but now all I need is to get enough exposure time on it. So I think that's a project that we're going to continue to work on. Not to mention turning this photo full color as well. So it's gonna be an RGBC for sure. I'm not really sure how much data I'm gonna need to get a proper photograph, but I sure want to know. So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Enjoy my crops of the Veil Nebula, and I'll see you on the next one.